Well, that's all something I missed, isn't it? Jim Middleton is your speaker today, and thank you for coming.
That's usually all they ever say. Hi, gang. Welcome. Welcome to my armpit, practically. Holy cow. Whoa. This is toasty. Usually this program runs about 45 minutes. It might run 35 minutes today. We're just going to see how it goes on this. I've been a pharmacist for 41 years, and holy cow. And among the things that have happened in the 41 years is people give me stuff over the time. And I'm also a pack rat, so I never throw anything away that's so wonderfully given. It's a gift, and you retain a gift, you accept a gift, you appreciate a gift, you hold on to the gift, you never let the gift go. You always hold on to it forever. So when people do things like they give me this, because it's the last bottle of Jevrabon that was at the Battle Creek Sanitarium. Well, they gave it to me, I could have just taken it. But anyway, it was interesting because Jevrabon is a patent medicine. We don't know it that way. It was made by Lederle, and it contained port wine, and they threw some vitamin B in it. Yeah, it was very popular in the certain wings at the sanitarium. The other thing they do is they give me things like this. I don't quite know how to take it, but Dr. Chase's tonic. Dr. Chase's tonic was from around 1900, and he told everyone that his tonic contained 1/240th of a grain of strychnine, 1/240th of a grain of arsenic, and it's cherry flavored. I guess it works really well once. So you feel really perky. Aminophylline. It's used for asthma attacks. These are suppositories. So if you're having an asthmatic attack, you go, ah, suppository. Works, I guess. I suppose how it's supposed to go. QBAB is boring. Well, what's this one? Oh, Alperigo. White pined compound mentholated. Containing an extra dose of chloroform if you want to just knock somebody out next to you who's coughing too much. Here, you can drink this, or I can just knock you out with it. Who doesn't love Lucy? Vitamina Vegemin. And it's tasty too. Tastes just like candy. It's just candy. Some of the other things we're going to talk about: homeopathic medicines. Homeopathic medicines were from the doctrine of similars, meaning they figure if something caused an illness, that you could dilute it enough and take it, and you would cure the illness. I wouldn't die onto that too much. Stramonium. It's also called loco weed. You could smoke it for asthma, or you could just take a chemical compound that's called Atrovent and inhale it. They've taken that out of this. Some fun stuff. This is what I like to show. This is not a patent medicine. Back in the day in pharmacy, we used to call this little tin packet here, little teeny one. Looks like you'd put aspirin in it. It's something for people who don't have headaches. We used to call it the three sisters would live in this. The three sisters were the three condoms that would fit into this little tin packet. You'd go back to the pharmacy and say, and the pharmacist would go, and you'd walk out and thank you for the quarter. The three sisters. So today we're going to look at what does this have to do with Battle Creek? Well, obviously I'm a pharmacist, so I know about the drug end of it. But Battle Creek, it's cereal, it's all this other stuff. Why would I even have any of this to do? Well, I got into this initially about 1992 because I was working on a kind of a radio play dealing with an interview that never really happened with Dr. Kellogg on a radio station that just opened up in Battle Creek. And as I was doing the research for Dr. Kellogg and then his brother William Keith Kellogg, W.K. Kellogg, Will Keith, I started finding information about this other Kellogg, this Professor Kellogg, who seemed to be kind of a scoundrel. So I said, I'll make a mental note for later, put it aside. And then I come across this other guy as I'm reading through Dr. Kellogg. I see these letters from a Dr. Bobo? What's this? Put it aside for later. James Peebles? Put it aside for later. So after I did the Kellogg thing, I said, well, let's look in some of this other stuff. And lo and behold, it's like these one after another people with a great way to make a lot of money quick, took advantage of the fact there was no such thing as the FDA, and there was no such thing as a regulation, and there was no such thing as a law that said you had to put what was on the drug that you were selling. But you could put it in a bottle, sell it for $1, and advertise like crazy. And that's what worked. So we had the Professor Kellogg becoming one of the first millionaires in Battle Creek. We had similar things going on around the country. In Cincinnati, they had the Purina Company. We had later on, we had other companies, one after another. They all discovered a couple things. If you put liquor in there, it's sold like crazy, especially on Sunday. If you put morphine in with the liquor, you could say it cured your tuberculosis because you stopped coughing. Well, that's right. You were gorked out on morphine, which is a great cough suppressant, by the way, and you had a lot of liquor on board. And so you would have these great testimonials, because that was how everything worked. It worked on word of mouth testimonials. Everything was great. Oh, this is the best drug in the world. And by the time that testimonial was printed, put in the newspaper, in the magazines, in Collier's, any of these things, the patient who said it was dead. But the family, the designated heirs, made a few dollars off of someone's testimonial. So, let's see if I do this right. So again, how Battle Creek, one-time health capital, attracts several patent medicine companies. And what are the consequences of an unregulated pharmaceutical industry? We are a petri dish of what could have happened there. And what changed after 1906, and what are the limitations even today of a regulated pharmaceutical industry? We love our pills in America. We gobble down more capsules, tablets, liquids, use suppositories, stuff things in our ears, we shoot things in our bodies than any country in the world, pretty much. And it goes way back to some of the things here. We're all broken. We all have an illness. If you go to the latest ICD-10 codes, there's some description of what is wrong with you, and we got a pill for that. And it was no different back 100-some years ago. You go back to the usual typical pharmacist. The pharmacist of the day was the most accessible drug expert, health expert. You go to the doctor if you can get to him. Doctor might cost you $3. Oh gosh, go to the pharmacist, buy something for $1. He'll sell you what's good. You go home, you'll feel better. Save you going to the doctor. We don't have that quite thing anymore. If you're in a pharmacist mode like I am currently, you often find yourself in a retail setting where they're micromanaging you down to the minute. You spend more than 2 minutes with a patient, your district manager's on the phone and say, what are you wasting your time for? You've got to get 50 scripts filled an hour. And so that's one of the things we're running into. So all the typical things that we associate with pharmacy, you know, the big pretty wooden shelving units. This is from the Pharmacist Museum down in New Orleans, which got horribly damaged with the hurricanes they had back there about 10 years ago. Practice of Pharmacy by Remington, that's the pharmacist's Bible. We allegedly read it. We had to read something on how to use compound formula H in one of my pharmacognosy classes, which told you how to do the purity of some plant products. And that's a mortar and pestle. Your decision, which is which. Which is the mortar, which is the pestle, I'm not going to tell you. 19th century. We were worried about all sorts of things, but we had a cure for everything. And in fact, it goes back even further. We had the first apothecaries in this country back in the 1720s. And the little picture in the corner there, that's the apothecary at Williamsburg, and that's the local hospital pharmacist who dresses up like it's 1750, and she'll make products, and everything behind her has actual product in it as from a 1750 to 1760 formulary. One of the things that she was showing me when I was there was digitalis, foxglove, a foxglove extract. Back until 1890 or so, your extracts weren't really using alcohol in them, but once they learned how to do that, they went with gusto. Her digitalis would be just go out, find a digitalis plant, grind it up, put it in water, shake it real hard, and tell people take a few drops of this, but shake it real hard. Because if you let it settle to the bottom, by the time you got there, you were drinking pure toxin. Example being, I had one right here. Digitalis tincture. Ta-ta-ta. Official preparation. It is labeled poison. Take a teaspoon of this, it's the last teaspoon you'll ever have. It's empty now. I rinsed it. It's foxglove. Foxglove is a plant that grows wild. You accidentally pick it, make a tea out of it. It's not a good thing. We didn't have a treatment for any overdoses on this until the mid-80s. So we had all these things going on. We had people trying to be understand what the world was around us, the hypnosis or mesmerism. We try to get into your head and make you think through it. We use fever induction with tuberculosis. That's one of the ways of treating it. You try to give people medicines that would make your temperature go up, and they thought we were going to burn that TB out of you. Dr. Kellogg here was doing his stuff with hydrotherapy and diet. put you in a nice water bath and put a small current of electricity through it. Just make you feel excited. Yow! And morphine was extracted from the opium poppy, and science kept trying to do a little better. It all started, though, with a product here that looks like this now, Lydia pincum, vegetable compound. It's this version here is 20 proof, which is why it was very popular. But it didn't tell you it was 20 proof. So you just sort of learned it because, hey, Bill down the street's drinking Lydia pincums on Sunday. What's going on with that? Let me try it. Oh yeah. Loving me some Lydia pincums. They still make it. And to show you that the alcohol content hasn't diminished too much, I had a bottle of this. This one's empty. This bottle, say evaporated, but since it didn't have anywhere for the evaporation of gas to go, it blew off the top and spilled all over. It's a tarry mess. I don't recommend you doing that. But Lydia pincum was the grandmother of all of this stuff. Peruna, as I mentioned, was very popular through the 40s. And this is another one here, calisaya, iron, and strychnine. Again, more strychnine. These are the type of tonics. These were not patent medicines, but this was acceptable medicine. You took a little bit of poison and made your body think, oh my God, you're going to die. Hey, it's a tonic. Your heart starts racing. I'm so scared. Yeah, work with it. If you happen to ever take an athletic supplement, be really careful you read the label on that too, because you may see some derivative of pruside listed among the ingredients. Pruside is a polite word for cyanide, and it's the same thing. It makes your body think it's mildly suffocating, so you start breathing deep and you relax a little more. We had an illustrator back in the turn of the last century, Windsor McKay. He's a he's a Michigan boy, raised in Spring Lake, Michigan. His parents lived in Edmore, Michigan, which is up near where I went to high school, but he didn't like the drug habits and drug stuff going on. So even before the FDA was around, he was out trying to warn people with his illustrations, what can a drug habit do to your community? What can it do to everything else? So we decided to come up with a new improved drug to prevent all this terrible, horrible stuff, especially with morphine, because we were all worried about people getting addicted to morphine. So we took morphine and we played around with the chemical molecules behind it, and we came up with a wonder new drug, a heroic drug we called heroin. And it was ruthlessly, viciously promoted as a treatment for coughing. Terpene hydrate with heroin was a product available until 1913. I was cleaning out a pharmacist's basement with some friends back in my college days, and we came across a gallon jug of it that had still been unopened. So we knew this at the time, it was about 65 years old in the basement of this pharmacy. And we said, oh goodness, let's pour this out right now. Anyway, but heroin was a legitimate drug created by Bayer, the makers of aspirin. They figured, hey, we made aspirin, might as well do this too, hey. And they marketed it that way. By the time they found that people were getting addicted to it, the first thing that happened was a big mass campaign against how that information is all wrong. Oh no, it can't be addicting. There's no such thing. There's something wrong with the patient. Something wrong with the patient. And we're hearing that play through again with OxyContin right now. So, drug sources everywhere. The little booklet alluded to here, I reprinted a bunch of these. I donated a bunch here. So this is the booklet that Sears put out. They had a full patent medicine catalog of everything. You find all sorts of stuff in here from 1902. You will not find a single ingredient listed, but you'll see plenty of testimonials. And that's very interesting. They had a Mexican neuralgia cure that was marijuana extract. They had an alcohol cure that was morphine. They had a morphine cure that was cocaine. They had baby teething drops. So again, more cocaine. And so lots of this and all sorts of stuff. Nerve brain pills, coca wine. They put cocaine in wine. There's Vin Mariani, a very popular wine at the turn of the last century, endorsed by Pope Leo XIII. Great stuff. Thomas Edison thought it was a great idea. Sigmund Freud thought cocaine was wonderful because people could work through dinner and not be hungry. So we had all these things going on. Electric battery plasters. We're going to talk a little about this because some people tried that here in Battle Creek. The French specific, this little product here, this is a urethral infusion, let's say, to treat venereal disease, especially gonorrhea. It's the old gag they used to say, a night with Venus, a lifetime with Mercury. This was part of it. You got lots of mercury for your prostate. Again, Vin Vitae, again, more cocaine in your wine. And Sears had this full catalog. And the little supplement one was just full of this, and electronic belts, and things that make you get stimulated, and breast enlargement creams. It was all full of wonderful material. So they came to Battle Creek. Why would you come to Battle Creek with all this idea? Well, we got a little bit of a reputation here. We were the healthy place. If you wanted to send something through the internet of the 19th century, namely the telegraph, and you wanted just to type in or telegraph in the word health, it binged immediately over here at the sanitarium. And that's because of the work of Dr. Kellogg. Now I have to have a pause here because I am a nerd. And this little image here is my trifecta of nerdvana, nerdvana, if you will. I love stereo photography. This is a stereo photograph. I love old phonographs. In Michigan, we have here the first photographic depiction of a demonstration of the first tinfoil phonograph by Edison, not even a year after it was invented. So this little device here is the phonograph. Let's add a little more history to this. This guy sitting here looking very dour and unhappy, that's Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, about 5 years out of med school. He had not really taken to wearing all white at the time, but he also said, well, let's have this little demonstration here. The lady sitting here, that's his fiancée-to-be. They were going to get married the following year in the same parlor. This image takes place about 2 blocks that way, where the Federal Center is. The building that this is located in had beautiful ventilation, great for breathing, great for cool air, not so much if you have a fire in the basement. Suddenly the whole thing came down in 1903. But so you have the whole thing going on here, plus, this is the ultimate nerdy thing, we have a guy sitting in the corner here with a little trumpet. When they would do these demonstrations, Edison and his agents would come around the country and they would say, okay, find somebody locally who will bring us in and we'll do a demonstration. So the local person that came here to have this set up wanted to do it at the Hamlin Opera House, which is right downtown. Parts of the building still stand. His name was Professor Frank J. Kellogg, the scoundrel we're going to be talking about. So we have the Kellogg's, we have Dr. Kellogg, we have the phonograph, we have stereo photography, and because I'm a nerd, I hang out with other nerds, and we were able to find an example of a tinfoil recording that would have been made on this machine in 1878, about the same time they were doing these demos. And I'm going to play it. They've been able to digitize it, and they spent weeks restoring this. So I'm hoping this is nice and loud and you may hear it. It's scratchy and very faint, but it's 140 years old. Anyway, you couldn't quite hear that. The trumpet started at the beginning, then they did the recitation, Mary Had a Little Lamb. That was the typical thing here. They did something here at the Hamlin Opera House called Whoa Nellie. I haven't found what that song was, but the guy who did the trumpet there was the one who would have done the initial one, then they would have done the demonstration. When they did the demonstration here in Battle Creek, as a promotion for all the stuff with the Kellogg and the phonograph and everything else, they had 400 people at the Hamlin Opera House to hear this. So something else. Now Dr. Kellogg cleaned up pretty nice for this little etching. It was the Photoshop of the 1880s. The photograph earlier, and this predates, this is what we usually see him. The first one predates his all in white. Once he started dressing white because he felt it was the best color for absorbing all nature's good light, he would go around that. And that's how most people remember him around Battle Creek in the turn of the last century, 1900 to 1920. Sanitarium was a big deal. They kept building more and more. They employed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people there. They had a great idea of how to heat the town. They would have boilers up there, and they'd help run piping through the town. And one of the exercises they did was, let's all go out and chop some wood, because it's healthy for you. And then they'd burn the wood, and they'd make money off of the heat. they would sell out. Dr. Kellogg liked to play with electricity. He had a giant electrostatic coil, and he would do his weekly question box discussions where people would, never prompted, would put certain questions into a question box, and he'd give a big discussion on how good it is not to eat meat. He would, at this one, my favorite story was he would bring out a big tub of yogurt, and inside the yogurt was a hunk of beefsteak, raw, that he'd been putting into it and dunking out and showing it to people every week. He did it for 17 years. Same hunk of meat. He says, look what this meat's being preserved by all this yogurt I keep switching out. Imagine how good yogurt is for your intestine. And then someone threw it out because they said it smelled funny. So anyway, Dr. Kellogg had a problem, though, toward the end of his career. He latched himself to the Race Betterment Society, which is a prelude to eugenics. He had a big problem because I thought it was a joke at first when I read about it, but he said the way things are going, within 100 years will be one big lunatic asylum. And I said, well, then that would be about now. Maybe he wasn't joking. Oh. Anyway, so it was one of his little predictions. He loved the posture chair. It was made here in town. They also made phonographs. I found out about that. But the posture chair, as you sit here, you'd be forced to sit up straight in the chair. This one here vibrated, so you get a nice jiggling around, help you digest in theory. But then he also liked to play a lot with X-rays and radium. He thought breathing radium gas was a great way to lose weight. Of course, as you die from cancer, you're weighing about 85 pounds. So that didn't work out so well either. He did have a patient who couldn't pay his bills, however, and that they offered him the option, well, you can work in the kitchen. And that patient, C.W. Post, I'm trying to say his name anyway, the patient, C.W. Post, said, okay, fine, I'll work in your kitchen. Oh, is that how you make that grain coffee substitute, huh? Ah, how about that? Oh, that's how you make that granola, huh? So he turned around and started walking up and down the street peddling Postum, a grain beverage. And then he said, well, I'll have some of my grape nuts, because that will cure your appendicitis. And your Postum will stop your coffee neuralgia because it goes to a special communication tube between your stomach and your brain. Don't look for it. I know it's there. You have to have faith. So it was important. But he became, again, a millionaire by doing this. Instant Postum, yum. We had other people at this point who said, you know what, we're seeing Postum, we're seeing Kellogg's, we're seeing money out of Battle Creek. Let's get our name on that somehow. So the Wahoo Bitters Company in Toledo, Ohio, slapped Battle Creek on its address. They never came up here. No one ever came up here. But if you lived up here, you'd get a $1 off coupon to buy some at your local pharmacy. So it was like almost getting it for free. So they could say they distributed it through Battle Creek. What was in this? 20% alcohol. Anything else? Didn't matter. Pretty much a collection of bitter herbs. Burdock tonic compound. This is always my favorite. Burdock tonic makes blue-blooded people's blood a bright blood red. That was only a 75% discount, but it was 25% alcohol. Try saying what I just said after a little burdock tonic. Burdock tonic, because of burdocks in it, it would make it bitter. So if you're, well, it must be good for you because it's bitter. It's great. Lung balsam, clear out your tuberculosis. More alcohol, a little touch of morphine this time, because large size bottles are the cheapest. Buy it by the gallon, you can save $1. It's all like weak lungs, coughs, colds, kidneys, and liver, constipation, and appetite. I mean, gee whiz. It does your taxes too. Now we had a guy down in Climax, a guy named Jeb, and he was an actual doctor. He had used the same training that Dr. Kellogg had gotten. The state-of-the-art in the 19th century was you go to the University of Michigan and you enrolled in their 2-year medical doctor program, your MD program there. And your first year you went through the whole program, and your second year you repeated the first year. So they pat you on the butt, said the check cleared, there you are, you're a doctor. So Dr. Jeb over in Climax came up with his rheumatism treatment, and he would actually have an office here in Battle Creek. So he'd see you over in Climax, he'd see you over here in Battle Creek. And his, let's see, what does it say, 10% pure grain alcohol, he just put it right there on the label, proudly. This is 20 proof, buddy. This is before, this is after. What it has done for others, it will do for you, he kept saying. Now we have Miss Jane's rose petal concoctions. She was promoting getting rid of those unattractive freckles. And so she had a rose water combination with some basic lanolin solutions, and you'd smear it on your face and wash it off, and oh, you felt that rosy glow, but you didn't have freckles. That was what she said. Now, she had listed her actual address on all her bottles. So I went driving one day. I said, where is this marvelous little place? It's somewhere, should be where it's not there. It's near where the Lila Arboretum would be today. And I said, well, you know, that's kind of a problem we have, especially as I was going through some of these things, because I tried to find where Dr. Kellogg's house was when I first came to town, and it's a 3-block field. And I tried to find the sanitarium. Well, I caught that just in time. Whoops, that's gone. And then W.K. Kellogg's house, they just moved it. So good. So that's still here. So we can still see that. A nice, modest little place for a millionaire at the time. Had to double check this. I took this picture in 1994. And then I went back and took a picture about 5 years ago, and all sorts of stuff was crumbling off the ceiling. I'm glad they're working to repair it. I'm very interested to see how it comes out. This is the bank building downtown. Let's talk quickly about homeopathy. Some of the things that Humphreys medicines were doing, and little tablets in here, they were just offering inflamed eyelid treatments by little pellets. So a guy comes up from Coldwater and Union City area, and he says, hey, I'm going to sell some stuff too. And so he started selling the Ensign remedies. And he had them for all sorts of stuff, for colds, acute catarrh, and malaria and other forms of low fever. I always thought that was fun, because you always want to have low fever. Oh, malaria. Could be malaria. Well, you know. Despair of one's soul, that was another thing he treated. Delusions, if there were people, you took one product. If you had delusions about animals, you took a different product. So it's quite amazing little products he was selling here. $1 a box. And then we had a guy named Truesdale Gorham who operated out of what's now Clara's. And his big thing was to sell asthma treatments by mail. I cannot find exactly what it was. He stayed in town long enough to marry his daughter off to a minister in Marshall. And then he beat it out of town. Good on him. We had another company called the Evening Capsule. It was only here for about 2 years. They sold evening primrose oil in capsules for women's complaints. It was in the Ward building downtown, which is gone. But this is actually a case of, this is functional. This would have worked because evening primrose oil is an anti-inflammatory, not as strong as, say, Motrin, but strong enough to exert some effect. And they've been studying it now for hot flashes and for mild premenstrual cramping. So among naturopathic physicians, it does have some kind of benefit noted with it. No, they only last a couple of years though. If you're too busy to worry about that diabetes showing up in your urine, oh my gosh, I'm just too busy. I'm at my phone on my desk. Oh, I can't check my urine. I don't have time. Well, they say send us a sample in a tightly sealed cup, please, to our Battle Creek laboratories. We'll tell you if you got diabetes. We'll also tell you if you got gonorrhea. Check one. Then we have this pair of characters. Top guy, Dr. James Peebles. Bottom guy, William Thompson Bobo. Now they showed up here from Texas at the later part of the 1800s. The sanitarium they had there had burnt to the ground. And they came up here and they said, well, you know, we'll set up shop in Battle Creek. They didn't set up shop in the sanitarium. They found the 3rd floor of Minty's Cigar Store as the place to be. And what they did is Bobo down at the bottom was the business manager to this guy. And what was interesting when I was doing research is these people had such, let's say, colorful backgrounds that I didn't realize they were partners. Because you see all the separate stuff that they were doing, they never alluded that they were together. And then you'd see where one guy says, oh, I'm his business partner in court proceedings. Oh, this is a perfect explanation. Peebles came here with a background in ministry. He thought Calvinism caused biliousness, and boy, did he hate vaccinations. He must have thought smallpox was God's will. I have no idea, but he just went on and on. He's one of the first anti-vaxxers. Bobo down here used 2 different names. If it was on his patent medicine stuff, it was W. Thompson Bobo. If it was for his local trade, is William T. Bobo. He had 2 different business cards. Don't know what that means. But they, between the 2 of them, were selling lots of interesting stuff. Peebles was selling a treatment for epilepsy. It contained bitter almonds. Nice word again for cyanide. And Bobo here was selling a concoction to make it look like your diabetes is cured. But in reality, it was saltpeter liquid. And you would just urinate more, and that made you look like you're having lower blood sugar because you had more dilute urine. He did come up with a goiter treatment, which amounted to potassium iodide tablets you could get at any pharmacy. You take one of those a day and then massage your goiter. And he'd sell them to you every week. Yeah, so there you go. $75 every week. I'll treat you. That's one of the books that Dr. Peebles wrote. Compulsory Vaccination, A Curse and Menace Against Personal Liberty. Then we have Professor Kellogg. Professor Kellogg took advantage of the fact that we were all worried about corpulency at the turn of the century, and his background wasn't being a Kellogg other than a manager at one of the Kellogg cereal plants for about a month. He ended up getting into business for himself, selling a combination of pokeweed, which is a diuretic, and thyroid. And you take that combination, you're going to urinate a lot, and the thyroid's going to make your metabolism go through the roof, and if you don't die from a stroke or a heart attack, you lose weight. This is an unretouched photograph. Yeah. Okay, and his way of treating you was he'd give you a box, something like this. You'd shake it. Oh, it's full of tablets. Yeah, take it like you would candy. Take 3 or 4 of them a day. Just keep taking them. And send me the results. If you lose weight, I'll send you a free box. But he'd also tell you, if you send away for a free sample, you get the sample plus a full month's supply and a bill for $5. Enough people bid on it, he became a millionaire in Battle Creek. He became a millionaire with his little letters of look at me and all that. But he was also on the chairman of the city bank. He lived very well. That's his Cascabine, same kind of thing. But he lived very well. The house up on, then it was Maple Street, now Capitol Avenue by the Y, by the Kimball House, that was built by him. But he liked to tell everybody he lived in the little more modest house below, his parents' house. He spent a lot of time going back to his parents' house. We'll find out why. Just to let you know that Battle Creek wasn't the only place that was having wild times like this. Over in Marshall, we had the Stewart's Dyspepsia tablets for stomach acidity. What's unique about it is the formula stipulated while you were drying out the tablets, it worked best if you sprayed a little gasoline on it and let it evaporate faster. It made the tablets dry faster. Then you sugarcoated it and no one noticed. So for your gas, you took gas. Zoophora, that was made in Kalamazoo. And the little bit of twist to that is that, I'm trying to get the guy's name because it's something that doesn't roll easily off the tongue here. Zoophora was owned by a gentleman whose name was Dr. Pengali. And he made the Women's Friend. That's him in the corner there. That's his bearded figure there, right there. He's looking very handsome. The big thing about him was, this is again another 20 proof Lydia Pinkham drug. And his wife was the local representative for the Women's Christian Temperance Union. So while he's out there selling Zoophora, she's out there telling everyone about the demons of the evil rum. So, and again, you have all this stuff going on. Windsor McKay's going crazy with his cross-hatchings. Watch out for bootleg whiskey, crime, dope, 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 ah! Then think about it. Okay, let's think about it. Let's have eyes on this all. Well, over at Collier's was the magazine that was making big bucks off patent medicine advertising. Well, they themselves are the ones who dove onto it. And Samuel Hopkins Adams over here, looking very much like W.C. Fields, I think, exposed it in The Great American Fraud. And now, like today, when he exposed something and you know you're on the right trail, suddenly you have all these people attacking you. And in this case, the patent medicine company just reamed out all the horrible falsities. Oh my goodness, there's nothing wrong with our patent medicines. Let us regulate ourselves, please. We don't need to do this. They even sent a prostitute to this guy's hotel room and had a camera crew in the closet waiting for them to hop around on the bed, and they're going to get them. Gosh, this sounds familiar. Anyway, they were trying to do that. Well, he didn't go home to the hotel that night. He sent his wife to the hotel, and I guess the ensuing brawl was just spectacular. But he writes this up into The Great American Fraud. And it was a good bestseller back in around 1905. It was popular enough that it actually pushed Congress to pass the first Food and Drug Administration in 1906. Now, Food and Drug Administration in 1906, what could it do? Not too much. Oh, getting too far ahead. Not too much. All it could do was force people to put the ingredients on the label. They didn't say it had to be in English. Leadsill in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, decided we're going to do it in Polish. Some companies put it in Chinese. And it was just like, oh, it went that way for about 10 years, and they put additional things, so we finally have something similar. What did this ultimately do in Battle Creek? Well, the first one to fall literally to his death was Dr. Jebb. He fell down the stairs, broke his neck, died. His patent medicines died with him. His son, his daughter and wife tried to keep it going, but it only lasted a few weeks. Another one came through, not again through the FDA, but through the Michigan branch of the American Medical Association. They went after the enzyme remedies. They sent away for some. They wanted to see what would happen if they ordered some by mail, which is one thing. They got by mail, so it's publishing and distributing. That's a federal offense. And so he ended up ordering something to treat his soul's despair, got a bottle of the stuff, analyzed it, found it was 100% sugar, and figured it was costing about $51 per pound. And there was no repercussion on Ensign. He just kept doing it until the 40s. All he did is he added his publishing house as a magazine for the Truth Teller. Again, he figures if you say a lie loud enough, more enough people will believe it. He pushed that publishing out for another 10 years until he passed away. And he just kept selling stuff. The stuff was going through. Really pretty stuff. I mean, you get these little vials, little numbers on them and everything. The Ensign shop, 1940, and I love Willard Library's history collection for these things. That's where the new police station is. That's where his little shop was. It was there when I first came to town in the same building. These guys, Bobo, Thompson, they got hauled into court because, oh my gosh, interstate commerce was being corrupted by their mailing of epilepsy therapies containing cyanide. People were dying. It was terrible. It was a scandal. Oh my gosh, we got to do something about it. It goes to court, Fifth Circuit, Detroit. They say, okay, what's your defense, Mr. Peebles? What's your defense? And he says, I'm 85 years old. Look at this beautiful woman I brought with me. That's proof of my curative power. And they said, excuse me? And he said, with God as my witness, if I'm lying, may he strike me dead now. He sat down. That was his defense. They fined him the maximum fine allowed. You see a picture of it there. $5. Interstate murder. It pays to advertise. Anyway, Peebles ends up moving out to California. Takes his girlfriend with him. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. He dies just short of his 100th birthday. They have a seance because by that time he decides he's a spiritualist. It was California. And he says during the ghost spiritualism, I shoved this little light under my chin. Dr. Peebles, can you hear me? I hear you. I said, Dr. Peebles, what do you attribute to your long life? And the voice came back, I behaved myself. It's in the Moon Journal. If you go to Willard Library's cross-index, you can read the whole seance. It's a stitch. Dr. Bobo, on the other hand, stuck around selling his diabetes cure until he was called in to testify before the federal Congress. He didn't sleep for 2 weeks and killed himself. So he ducked that bullet by taking the bullet. He ended up going, but what's interesting is his wife was out of town at their Florida orange groves and attending a Christian Science conference. If you know Christian Scientists, they don't get along with doctors. So much faith she had in his abilities. Professor Kellogg, holy cow, what a guy. When I told you he spent a lot of time going to his parents' house, there's a reason. He got divorced like 4 times. Twice from the same woman. The third wife he had, it was such a contested divorce, at one point he subpoenaed the entire city of Milwaukee. It went up to the state of Michigan Supreme Court. They said, we reviewed the facts. You know, divorce is a way of taking care of some problems, but sometimes we can annul it and it takes care of another problem. You know what? You two deserve each other. Your divorce is annulled. You can't get divorced for another 2 years. I've never heard a reading like that ever. 2 years later to the day, he divorces, marries his landlady over in Detroit, dies a couple years later. He says, oh my gosh, I'm broke. Well, okay. But he was always considering himself a ladies' man. He kept saying, I'm so broke, I'm so poor, but when he died, he had $50,000 in the bank, and again, this is 1916 dollars, and a big farm over by Climax. Ladies' man, this is his monument to himself at Oak Park. Oak Hill Cemetery, I'm sorry, Oak Hill Cemetery. It's, shall we say, the most substantial erection in the building there. It's pretty huge. So, and if you hit it just right, I think the shadow goes across onto C.W. Post's mausoleum. So it's over right in that neck of the woods. There are other family members buried there, but nonetheless. His brown tablets, and this is what I have here. I cannot believe I found this. This is like it had never been opened. It had all this great literature, all this hokey baloney testimonial stuff. It's essentially a laxative. And people just going on glowingly about it. This was probably sold in the 40s, long after Professor Kellogg was gone. His company still kept kicking it out of here for $1 a box. So we went from dope to hope. Let's take a look at the modern era. What are we doing now? Well, we're selling port wine with vitamins. We have an FDA that will be able to refuse approving a drug only if it can show you how you can get it approved in 9 months. That's the FDA's mandate right now. So a lot of the new drugs you see on the market, they are not compared to any other drug on the market. They are compared to a placebo. So if this drug being marketed as a brand new therapy does better than nothing, you're approved. If it's the same thing as Tamiflu, only more concentrated, but costs 3 times as much because Tamiflu is generic, you're approved. Oh gosh, what's the latest? Help me. What's the latest? Shingles back. Shingrix. Anyone try to get their second shot of Shingrix lately? Can't get it. They overmarket it. It's the same as all the other previous Zostavax products. Different concentration, different vehicle. It's sort of strange. It's not new. In 1963, Librium is a unique and versatile therapeutic agent which is virtually specific for the relief of anxiety and depression. It's one of the safest psychopharmacological compounds available to date. Librium exhibits an unprecedented taming action in wild, vicious animals. This was from the FDA. This was in the package insert in 1963. This is after 50 years of the FDA. That's what they were doing. And we still have Lydia Pinkham. Yum. And if you come up here, I'll let you sniff the bottle. You can, oh yeah. Lydia. This is an eye test. Does this look out of blurry? That's okay. 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 I'm at the end of my rope. I want to say a few things though. Thanks for coming here. I want to thank especially the Willard Library Historic Room, wherever they hide it now. It's all over the place. Or even online. Get your little fingers working on that computer keyboard. You're gonna dig up the dirt on anybody. That's where I got most of this information. Currently, I'm getting all the info I can on the Marx Brothers and their association with Battle Creek. They were here no less than 6 times in vaudeville, and it's like 20 ads for each one as they're coming through. So anyways, that's a big thing with me. W.C. Fields performed here. Sarah Bernhardt performed here. All these people came to Battle Creek because of all this type of stuff. So, and that's all in the literature you can get online. You can print off anything you want. Let's see here. Duff Stoltz's memory at the point when I was doing all this stuff. Duff Stoltz was invaluable. He had the original Postum tins. He had a lot of the ensign material. Some of the stuff I would not have been able to get photographs of were not for him, and now I hope his archive is somewhere that's being taken care of. Let's see here. And as mentioned, I brought in copies of my video I made of this 25 years ago. Oh God, that was fast. And it's a truncated version of what I've been babbling on. I've kept adding to it over the years. But that's out there if you want to buy one. All proceeds go to help the Historic Society here. So, and same with the Sears book. You flip through there and you say, oh my gosh, how did Grandpa and Grandma ever live to be 70 years old if they took this stuff? It's very, very terrifying therapy. And some of it was very amusing at the same time. Any questions? Yes, I have a question in the front.
So, Mr. M, I had understood that there was history in Battle Creek that on the 2nd floor of one of the buildings downtown that we had elephants that came.
Oh yes.
And I want to know if that's true. Because how did they get to the 2nd?
Elephants on the 2nd floor. That would have been Hamlin's Opera House.
Okay.
That building is still, Kurt, the building is still downtown, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right down. It's right down here. The old Toller building. It's big. Robinson's Annex.
I think it's 17 West Michigan.
17 West Michigan. Yeah, that was where. That was the Hamlin Opera House at the time. That's where they would put on the performance for the thing. But they also had elephants as part of a circus show.
Right.
And the way they would do it is, I think there was a crane in the back side. You'd wheel them up,
Oh, really?
pop them in.
I'm envisioning and trying to
Yeah.
drive them up some kind
Well,
of ramp.
well, I'm trying to remember what city they had something similar happen to it, and the elephants got loose. And it took a while to corral them up, but they were just kind of hanging around, sitting on things and breaking stuff. And they walked into a building, literally, through a building. Hey, what's in here? Smash. Oh, look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Cannabis oil is so popular right now, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was wondering if you could comment on that, because a friend went over to South Tut and bought some for $20-some or something,
Mhm.
and it was like 99% olive oil. And, and I know it hasn't been approved yet.
The problem with cannabis and hemp and marijuana, American marijuana, was a medicinal. In fact, 1911, E.R. Squibb and Sons sold an extract of cannabis, and it was part of the pharmacopoeia as early as 1845 or so. They were using it medicinally for that. The current stuff going on, we have hemp, which is just the whole thing ground up into a mash and made into an ointment. We have CBD oil, which is a type of part of the extract, tetrahydrocannabinol, extracted but not necessarily purified. And then we have what you're talking about there, cannabis oil. The oil itself, there's no regulations on it. There's no anything on it right now. The CBD oil, again, it's unregulated. I try to find out more information about it as time goes on, because even in my college pharmacy, there's been some interest in bringing it in. And I said, well, I don't know if I could get them anything better than they can get. But the concern I have is if there's a problem with a student who takes it from a pharmacy in a college, our mom and dad going to come down on me because, oh, you sold them that terrible pot or something like that. Are there effects of cannabis oil if they properly study it and work it through and all that? Yes, there probably are very powerful anti-inflammatory effects with it, topical or internal. There are some benefits to it. It shows animals respond well to tumor shrinkage from it. However, what studies have been done? None. Why? Because if you start a study, the DEA comes in and shuts you down. The only people legally allowed right now to do it are the DEA and the FDA, and they grow their own, I hear, mediocre marijuana to do the studies with. And as a result, it's not going anywhere. The current thing in Michigan right now is to make it a Schedule 5 product to sell hemp or CBD oil. The Schedule 5 is a DEA classification where we put like cough syrup with codeine. You can get it if you sign for it, but you can only get it in a pharmacy, not at the gas station, not at the video store. So you have some likelihood that you're going to get that type of product. You're going to see more of it. I suspect with the huge farm they're building south of Marshall, that there's going to be a lot of activity with that. I saw it's going to be solar powered too. Woo! Talk about green. So, hey, is everybody hot and sweaty and sticky and looking for lemonade? I have another question though first. Hi. Oh no, it's my subpoena?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Nan Briggs McBain, and my dad was a pharmacist, Martin Lewis Briggs.
Do you have Briggs Drug Store?
Briggs Drug Store.
On
yes,
49 North Washington?
Yes. Oh my gosh. How cool.
I get around.
Yeah.
Lovely
yeah.
store.
And he graduated from Ferris
Yes.
in the late 1920s.
Yep.
And he had Briggs Drugs North Side, Briggs North Side on Washington Avenue across from Percy Jones. He had the Owl Drug Store downtown in the Wolverine Tower across from Post Tavern. And he had the Briggs South Side in the Lakeview Business District at the Fireway Light at Capitol and Bidwell.
Owl Drug?
Yes, Owl Drug. Oh my gosh. We did not plan this. I mean, really, this is so cool.
I don't throw anything out. What can I say?
Well,
Oh, you can have that.
oh, thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Sure.
And so in 1936, my dad applied for a patent, and it was accepted in 1937. And it was this emblem to put on the back of your car at your license plate. And Dad got called quite often for emergencies, and getting through traffic where there was emergency, it identified him as a medical professional and helped him get through to help. And that's why he made these. So I'd like to give one to you.
Oh my gosh! I'm just going to take a picture of it. Oh, thank you.
And I have a copy of the original patent, the application and the patent itself for you
Oh my gosh.
also.
All right, so I can park wherever I want now?
That fits cars up
How
to...
fast do you want to get to the mall this afternoon, gang?
Well, he did it in 1936 up to 1950, and then they changed the brackets on the license plates. But
That takes a bigger
but,
screwdriver. No, I wouldn't dare put this to the elements. This is beautiful.
Yeah,
You
so
got,
enjoy.
I'm going to leave this up here so you can look at it. Well, thank you. That's incredible. Would you like this?
I would love that.
You should have that. That's
Wow.
yeah.
I'll keep one and send one to my brother.
Right. Well, what's kind of fun is, what I'm giving her is, before we used to have bottles, we put things in little boxes. And the boxes would have the directions just on the inside. And this case, it just says, dissolve 1 in mouth every 3 hours. Wasn't too specific. I'm not too sure what it was for.
They didn't
But
have to put the ingredients in it.
yeah, you didn't have
Wow.
to. Right. Also, they had bigger versions of that where you put powders in, where you'd fold up little powders into those funky little things that you had to do in pharmacy school. Never saw it again. And they'd go into a box like that, and then you took it and sprinkle it into your Lydia Pinkham's and
That's right.
bring it down.
Oh, yeah. I had a lot of those meds at home. And
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the things a pharmacist has in the basement.
No.
Oh my gosh, isn't this wonderful? Thank you very much. And we've got goiter therapy here from Dr. Bobo. If you want to touch the box that made Battle Creek scandalous here, right there. So, well, this is great. Well, that's all I have. Please go out and get cooler. Oh,
Recipes for zucchini bread.
yes. Anyone have any recipes for zucchini bread? And I'm always looking for recipes for zucchini bread. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like this. Because one year I'm going to freeze all the zucchini that shows up. Sometimes years you just don't leave your back seat unlocked. You go back there and it's like a case of zucchini there. His neighbor's growing it. It's like, what do you do with this?